Hi, Sheena.
Hello.
Thank you so much for doing this with me.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me on here.
It's a pleasure. You've recently joined us as a subscriber to Therapist Corner, and
Ah,
we're going to kind of go behind the scenes of your private practice, which I'm very excited about because I have been mentioning you on every single the Q&As recently as an example, because you've made some really good shifts in your business, which I'm sure we'll
yes.
talk about.
Yeah.
So you're in private practice, and my first question is, how did you decide to go into private practice? Why did you make that decision?
So I made the decision to go into private practice as soon as I qualified, really.
And when
Yeah.
was that?
So I qualified in 2013. Yes,
Okay.
we were training 2012 to 2013. And pretty much as soon as I qualified, I thought I wanted to get into the private world. Initially, the younger me, it was more about wanting to earn some more money. That was kind of my bigger thing. I hadn't been obviously working in the kind of IAT for that long, a few years as a PWP. So I wanted to have some additional income. I wanted to have and just explore that kind of world. So I worked from 2014 is when I started taking a couple of private clients on, just a few in the evenings around my full-time IAPS role.
And how did you
And
get those clients? How
it
did
was
you?
actually my supervisor at the time was working privately as well, and she had a couple of clients and just said, "Do you want to kind of work? Do you want to fancy working privately?" And I thought, "Oh, how do I do that?" And then I thought, oh, well, that sounds good. So I got a few clients that way, not many, just one or two. And then I joined, I went to the BABCP conference when I was actually training, and IESO were there, the online digital health. And they used to be called online psychology or something like that
Yeah.
when they set up. So that's when I started to hear about that. So that's how I got some of my private work, was through that company. And that
So
kind of
digitally, was that just online?
just online, yeah, and it was like typed messaging, which was really strange, really different.
Wow.
But I did that for quite a few years, just as an additional thing to do. And then when I had my little boy in 2015, when I went back from maternity leave, I reduced my hours in my NHS to kind of work around childcare and having my little one. And I wanted to be able to work more to kind of still have that income. So I started to take a bit more work on, signed up to a few more agencies like Vita Health, Nuffield, signed up for them. So then I was getting telephone work and a few sort of face-to-face clients. But again, it was just an
Yeah,
add-on.
a base then? Did you start to see face to face and get a therapy room, or was it just online?
Yeah, it was mainly telephone work that they did, even pre-pandemic. But I did have a therapy room that I rented out, but it was ad hoc every now and then, really. And it was mainly in actually 2020, for all the years to choose to go in fully more into private practice was that year. I was actually coming to the end of the maternity leave with my second child, my daughter, and my
Yeah.
son was due to start school in the September. And I knew the school days were very short. I knew that I had to have some more flexibility in my work. So it was 2020 then when I decided that I wanted more of a work-life balance. I wanted more flexibility. I was actually dreading going back from maternity leave, going back
Oh,
to IAPT. And I was sat there with all this time on my hands, like, we were in the pandemic, looking for local jobs, things like that.
so it's
Um,
completely different, or just local other
I
CB?
wanted CBT, but locally, but there wasn't much like in terms of employment. And then I just said, what if I just go private? And got a really supportive husband, and he was like, yeah, go for it.
Did
So
it
that's
feel scary at that time?
very, very, very scary, extremely scary. Now the only thing that was slightly different than doing full time was I happened to come across a job at the Macclesfield Pain Service, and it was 1 day a week.
Mm.
So I decided to go for that, and that was in the NHS. And I got that job then, and I started that in the May of
You had a
2020.
little bit of security.
And
That
for
was important
me,
to you.
yeah, for me, having childcare, the mortgage, bills, like everyone else has got to pay,
Yeah.
having that 1 day a week, whilst it wasn't kind of mega bucks kind of earning money, it allowed me the space to then start bigger into my private practice, but it allowed me to have a little bit of guaranteed income every month. So if my anxieties were, not having clients, not having money, if that happened, I'd have a bit of income to fall back on. But it wasn't too much of a commitment of my week. It was just one day.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I moved. And that's 2020. I left the IAT and went to this one day a week, and then started to expand my practice.
How did you expand it? What did you do to take it to, because it sounds like you were just working with referral agencies.
Yes, and that's kind of what I did, really. I think I was in a bit of wasn't sure where to go for things, what to do. So I still just took more referrals on from agencies. I managed to get some more self-referrals. So I was getting more self-funding clients, which was much nicer.
Where did you find those through?
So I had a room at the time. I had a room at a physiotherapist. So I started to get a little bit more word of mouth in the local area, and through my website. I mean, it wasn't an all singing or dancing website, still isn't, but it was a website, and that's what I got kind of straight away.
It worked for you. You got a few, did you?
Got a few, yeah, definitely. Yeah, but that's kind of how I expanded it a bit more. Was more the referral agencies.
Yeah, and you've just made a massive shift in your business, haven't you? Which I'd love to talk to you about.
Yeah.
We had a coaching session. I don't know when it was now. Is it about 6 weeks ago?
No, I think it was. Is it March time?
March, and we're now in just at the end of June.
So
April, May.
Yeah,
kind of 2 months ago, and it was something that felt very kind of like stood out to me about you kind of really niching and becoming the pain therapist.
Yes, yeah. I think what you said on our coaching call was, Sheena, I'm looking at your Instagram page and it's very generic. and that was like, yes, I am, but I don't want to be. I'm not a generic therapist. I don't want to be kind of taking every single mental health problem going, because that's not me. That's not what my passion is. It's not what I enjoy. I've specialised in chronic pain, and I've worked in long-term health conditions and pain for years. That was my NHS one day a week, was at a pain service. And that was something that was completely missing. And yeah, I think having that session and making those shift to niching my business.
Made you reluctant to do that? Because that was your specialist area, wasn't it? We'd done a podcast on it and stuff.
Yeah, it's my area where I love the work in that. I'm really passionate about it. What was stopping me, I think, in my private practice was feeling that if I niched into my very specific little area, that I wouldn't get any referrals, I wouldn't get any self-funding client, I wouldn't grow in my business. And it's actually been complete opposite.
So what's happened? Because you've not given me the full load, and I have seen your Instagram followers shoot up, because I know you're starting to get, and they've just gone up, haven't they?
They were going up like one every month or something before. And I'm not, it's not about having a big following. That's not kind of my goal, but the goal is to reach more people and to spread the word of chronic pain and, all those sorts of things. That's what I wanted to do, and reach out to more and have more people with chronic pain be able to access information and access support. So since our coaching session, I changed my Instagram title. That alone, I think, makes a difference, because rather than being kind of Sheena Rydings therapy, which is very, very broad, very general and generic, to the pain therapist, it's so specific that people know what they're getting as soon as they see my name. All my content is now mainly, I do have bits about mental health, but that's obviously what I work with, but chronic pain. And interestingly,
it feels like it's come alive, like your energy. And it feels like, because I just kind of watch your Instagram stuff and share some of it, but it feels like it's come alive, that it's got more energy. I've had clients, I had a client last week that you will know nothing about, that has got a chronic pain issue, and she said, I'm following your friend on Instagram.
Oh wow.
She said it's been really making me feel really hopeful. And you don't know about that. I'm sure she's been like your stuff, but and
that's the point. That's just music to my ears, and that's what you want. That's what I want to get out there. And interestingly, the more I have narrowed down my into my specialist area, the more I've had to talk about, which seems bizarre. I thought if I had every single mental health difficulty to talk about, I'd have loads to talk about, but I felt so overwhelmed with what I could put out there, what information to put out there, what content to make, that actually by going into my niche, I'm able to talk about more, and I feel more confident and
How?
more
Tell me
comfortable.
how that's working. How do you
I
know?
don't, I don't even know why. I think I just felt so overwhelmed with what do I talk about? Do I talk about this? Do I talk about OCD? Do I talk about social anxiety? And actually what I wanted to talk about was none of that. I wanted to talk about chronic pain, and I wanted to talk about, you know, physical health and how that impacts men. That's what I wanted to talk about. So I think it's, if you tap into what your values are and what your interests are and where your passion is, I think then you've got things to talk about. And whilst mental health is, you know, my passion area as well, chronic pain and, you know, living well with chronic pain is the area that I am most passionate about and I'm most interested in. And I feel like that's the kind of, I want to be, you know, an advocate for people with chronic pain, to put that message out there and
Mm,
be, it aligns with my values, my
yeah.
personal values, my business values, and therefore I've got things to talk about because I'm more interested in my own business, which
Yes,
sounds
you're
great.
enjoying it, and
Yes.
it feels like that as well, that you're really enjoying it. And I remember
Yeah.
you saying when on the call that you have this other Instagram account, don't you? Which will,
Yes.
will
My chickens, my hens account. Yes, you can
when
say
you're
it.
like,
I don't mind. I'm not embarrassed.
you have your hens account, don't you? And you're like, that is booming.
Still
That's
is.
booming. My other one is kind of
Yeah.
not as much energy, and it's because your hands was just your hands, and now
Yeah.
your therapy one is just about pain. That is getting the same energy. Has it
Yes.
translated into more clients referring to you yet?
I would say not yet. I think I have had a few more inquiries from people with chronic pain. But I also went on Psychology Today and I made it very specific that I was, obviously, again, put that same message on there, that I was for chronic pain. That's my specialism. So I think as I'm starting to do a bit more and a bit more, I think my next step is sort of directories, but niching everywhere, not just my website and my social media, niching everywhere to get the same message
Yeah.
everywhere, I think is what is kind of the next step for
When
me.
you do something like this in marketing, though, they say it takes between 3 to 6 months to really kick in. So you're 2 months in now, and there is a different
Yes.
energy. You're getting more visibility, aren't you, out
Yeah.
there? So
Yeah.
hopefully, I mean, maybe we should do a check-in call in 6 times.
See where I'm at.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you would expect then that actually all the work that you're putting in now is really
Mm,
kind of, you're reaping the rewards of it. So
yes.
what are the most rewarding aspects, do you find, of private practice?
I think you get people, you work with people who are really invested in the therapy, especially self-funding clients. They're sort of paying for their therapy. They're really invested if they're putting their money into it, you know, for the start it, rather than referral agencies. They're not quite as invested. They engage really well in therapy. I feel like they it's important to them and it
Yeah.
makes it more enjoyable to work with those people. So
Mm.
there's that, I think, is really it makes it rewarding. I think when you in sort of NHS IAPT world, it's very much like a conveyor belt.
Yeah.
And the focus is on the amount of people that you're seeing rather than the quality of work that you're doing with people, which I think is why we become therapists, isn't it? It's not to see 100 people a week, it's to make a difference to people's lives.
Absolutely, yeah. And one of the things I like about private practice is that you're not stuck to 6 sessions. And I felt that the
Yeah,
longer I see people, you know, over that 10 and up to 20, that you just, the transformations, the impact's bigger, isn't it? And the
massively.
skills you have to develop to do that longer term work
Yeah.
is more rewarding.
Yeah, definitely. And I think even just like that home life balance that you get, there's more flexibility. You can sort of say no to people. Like if you get a referral, you can say no if it's not, doesn't fit with your values, if it doesn't work with you, if you don't connect together. You know, you have got more flexibility and more autonomy. And yeah, that the you can fit it in around your life, so it suits your life, get that work-life balance rather than having to fit life around work. So it's a really good balance. I think it's much better in that way.
What have been the challenges have you found?
Probably my own anxieties, my own barriers, like for example, not niching. And I think it's the uncertainty of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think the barrier sometimes is the kind of having to be on social media. This is kind of this nowadays, that's kind of what it's like, isn't it? Overcoming those anxieties about posting videos, doing YouTube videos.
You
You
seem
know,
so natural on videos.
thank you. It just, I think it's that anxiety around those sorts of things, putting yourself out there. When you work, when you're not in private practice, you don't have to do that. You can just go in, take the people that you see in and go home, whereas you have to put a lot more into it. So the anxiety around that and potentially not having clients is probably the biggest worry. So I think barriers and things that might get in the way, and probably my own worries, but I think you just have to be aware of them and acknowledge them, but try and keep going anyway, and keeping your eye on the greater good and the end results.
Yeah, I think uncertainty, you definitely learn to tolerate more uncertainty.
Yes.
That was huge for me in the first few years, really,
Yeah.
because you go from having that regular wage packet, don't you, to really not knowing what your income
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Definitely. And it takes, I think, from going from employed to having lots of agency referrals to then going to self-funding is that almost like next leap. And I feel like whilst I've been in private, officially been in private practice for quite a few years, I feel like I've only been recently, this last sort of year or two, been really trying to open my business up. And I feel like even this last couple of months is when I've really kind of got the business that I wanted.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, rather than all the years prior, I was just taking the odd referral just for a bit of income. And it wasn't really what I wanted out of my own business. I wanted to really enjoy my own business. That's kind of the perk, isn't it, of being self-employed?
Absolutely. So you're really shaping it now and
Yes. Yeah.
it to be. And how many clients do you see in a week, would you say?
So I work 2 days at the moment, privately. I'm hoping to increase that when my little girl goes to school in September, so I'll have a little bit more time. I say that a school day is really short, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I'll probably see about between 8 and 10, maybe about 8 a week. I'd like to average it. But I've started to take a bit less recently, in order to make space to work on my business, doing things like, I know we did the workshop in April.
Yeah,
So
that was a new thing for you. Do you think that's going to be something that you go down that line
I
now?
think so. Yeah, I think I really enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I like creating the workshop. I enjoyed doing it. It was something really different. And I think that's something I want to go down, that kind of workshop type of route again. So I think I need to carve time out of my day to do things like create content, create workshops, doing marketing, those sorts of things. So I'm kind of reducing my clients on some days to do other things with my business.
Yeah, so you're adding in that other revenue stream of workshops. What are you going to do with that workshop now? Because you've got really good reviews, and that came from the coaching call we did, wasn't it?
It did. Yeah, that came from the coaching call. It was, I can't thank you enough. That coaching call has made such a massive difference. It was amazing. And the workshop, I want to do either something again similar or something a little bit longer, or do another workshop. Again, that was CBT for pain management for therapists.
Yeah.
So I'd like to carry on doing something like that for therapists, because I think we don't get access to as much CPD when we're in private practice. So I'd like to do that, and I enjoyed that. And people,
the feedback was great, wasn't it?
had some really good feedback, which is really nice. Really pleased to hear. So something along those lines, or I'd like to expand and do sort of a pain management program for chronic pain, kind of people with chronic pain as well. So got some different ideas. I'll probably have to have another coaching call to fine tune those.
I'd be more than happy to help you on that. So you're really thinking about kind of making your business a lot more sustainable and resilient by adding in these other
Yes. Yeah.
revenue streams. What's the money like compared to the NHS? I mean, you just do 2 days a week, don't you? So how
Yes. So I think in theory, you were obviously you earn loads more privately than you do in the NHS. However, in order to make your business grow, you've got to also put into your business. So I think that's an important kind of
Like
bit, isn't
buying
it?
laptops. We were
Yeah.
just talking about that. We both need higher
Yes.
laptops. It's
So yes, buying new laptops, but even things like I think it's really important, like having like coaching calls and coaching sessions and other things that I think you investing your money, but it's your money to invest. And I think that's the difference. Whereas the NHS, for example, don't pay anywhere near as well as what you would in private practice, as long as you set your fees right. And but you're investing in yourself. So even you're still getting your money, you're choosing to invest in yourself and your business, which will pay off over time. So I think it is a lot better, the money you can earn privately.
Is that why you decided to join us at Therapist Corner and be part of that community? Is that part of investing in you? What was the
Yeah. So I found the coaching call so helpful. I mean, we only had that like the first call, but it was like a pivotal moment in my business to change. And it was so helpful that I thought, I need more of this. I need more of this sort of information. So that's why I signed up, because I thought it was the information you get from you, from other therapists, is just really helpful. When you're on your own in private practice, you don't have that team,
no,
and that's what it kind of gives you.
well, we have supervision for our clinical work, don't we? And our idea
Yeah.
of Therapist Corner is to kind of give that support, but for your business. That's
Yes, yeah, which I think is what was missing. It is definitely an area that's missing. I have my clinical supervisor and she's brilliant, but that's clinical stuff and that's different. I think business coaching and business information is really good. And I'm hoping to get how to push myself more, learning about different opportunities I could have to have different income streams. So I think I want to expand it further than just doing just one-to-one therapy.
yeah. And I think that's the way people go after self-referring and after working with referral agencies, then thinking, oh, actually, I don't want 10 bosses that work in
Yeah,
10 with 10 different paperwork streams.
exactly. Yeah.
Diets, and then you kind of think, oh, how can I add it? And it's nice work. I like the kind of the doing the workshops as well. It's a really creative thing to do, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. It's enjoyable. It's a little bit different because it's quite hard, being a therapist doing one-to-one therapy,
It's exhausting.
15 years. It is exhausting. And I think I don't want to be exhausted. I want to be still refreshed for every person that I see and have that kind of energy. So using my skills and my business to do something different would allow me to have that energy back for my one-to-one clients then.
Yeah. And if you could go back in time to
Mhm.
2020, that's when you kind of properly started in private practice, would you do anything differently? Would you change anything?
I
Or
would
is
have
it
left IAPT earlier.
right, okay?
I would have done it earlier if I could, but then I suppose that life happens in ways that it does. I made the decision when I did. Um, I wish I'd taken that jump a bit early and had that bravery to leave earlier, because I was getting completely burnt out. I hated going to work. I just really didn't like it.
What
Um,
would have helped you leave earlier? What would you have
Something
needed?
like therapist corner, something like having that, speaking to other
Support.
people who are in private practice, a bit of knowledge, a bit of encouragement and hope that you'll be fine, you'll do okay. I think I didn't have that, which was maybe because social media has been a lot more over the last few years. I
Yeah.
think what I would have done differently is niched a bit earlier as well. I would have gone into my niche earlier. Um,
Yeah.
so I think whilst I do everything that happens at the right time, if I was to advise anybody that has a niche and a specialism to work in that specialism, don't don't kind of think that you're not going to get clients,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you don't actually want every single client. You want the people in your specialism as well.
And you're only one person, so there's a really, actually, we can't see that many people, can we? It's quite.
No, no.
And if somebody was starting out in private practice, what would you advise them? What would you say to them?
Just do it.
Would you? Good.
Just do it. You're stronger than you think. You'll be
Yeah.
fine. I'd advise them just to get like a website, first of all, and a social media page, just have that online presence.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, if they're worried about income, can sign up to some agencies for referrals, and that gives you that little bit of, you know, kind of support that you've got some money coming in. But I think, yeah, and if you've got a niche, stick with that niche, and be confident in that area.
Yeah. So it's been the right decision for you, has it?
Massively, yeah, 100% the right decision for me. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And especially then going from niching, I think it was literally like the day after our coaching call, or 2 days, I changed my Instagram name like almost immediately. Thought, right, I'm doing it, and I'm so glad that I did.
Yeah, yeah.
But working in private practice is massively better. It's much better for my home life. I've got 2 small children. It fits with home life. I can pick my kids up from school, I can drop them off. I can be more flexible. It's so much better.
And that, I think everybody that I've done the therapist spotlight with so far has had children.
I've seen, yeah.
Exactly the same. Like, yeah,
I
that's
think
really.
it was Hannah wasn't sure, it was after her going back after maternity leave.
Which in my head, I mean, I don't have children, but I just think that is, I know I was like, had no dependents apart from Frank and Doris. So, you know, if we were all eating dog food for a bit, that would be fine. But I just think, gosh, the bravery to take that risk, but it just shows you that actually it's so important that you get the work-life balance.
Definitely. Yes. Yeah.
So it's all, I think, God, that's such a scary time, but you have no choice because you want that quality time with your family.
Yeah, absolutely.
Apart from school every day, that is just lovely, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. And they're only little once. So, and I kind of said to myself, you know, I'm a qualified BCP accredited CBT therapist. If worse comes to worse, I can go and sign up to an agency and go and get some work. There'll always be some work somewhere for me. So I kind of told myself that, but I've never needed to do that.
Yeah.
So
yeah. That's fantastic. And if somebody wanted to follow you or wanted a bit of supervision with you around their work with paying clients or how to niche, I think you'd be really good at that if somebody needed that kind of little boost in, right, okay, I really want to go for it, because you've really done it, haven't you? Where can people follow you and find you?
So my Instagram page is The Pain Therapist. I do have a Facebook page as well. I think it's Sheena Rydings, The Pain Therapist. I am on LinkedIn as well, and my website is sheenarydingsTherapy.co.uk. So that's not The Pain Therapist yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. It's on its way, yeah.
You're 2 months in, that's not long really, is it, into kind of really niching down. And you know, the transformation on all how you spoke about your business really quickly was just brilliant to see. And I think it was the energy around, it's just been very fantastic.
Yeah. And you've got to take some time out of you, because I was seeing client on my business day, in my private days, and I was thinking I need to take this back a bit now, and invest time into the business to give it that energy that it needed. And I'm so glad I did.
Yeah. So watch this space.
Yes, absolutely.
Fantastic. Thank you. I'll put all the links in the show notes or below this video. So thank you so much, Sheena.
Brilliant. No, thank you.
Time. You take care.
Thank you, you too.